got him allegedly stuck in Antarctica for months after trying to raise money for charity. This story was supposed to be one of the rare good moments on the internet, the kind of thing everyone would want to root for. A 19-year-old, barely out of high school, flying a single, tiny engine Cessna around the world with no co-pilot, no crew, and no corporate sponsor behind him. His mission was to touch down on all 7 continents and raise $1 million for childhood cancer research. And his name is Ethan Go, and if you were one of his followers on Instagram, you watched it all happen in real time. Every day brought you a new video with a new country stamped. His whole page essentially became a long travel documentary.
I'm attempting to become the first person ever to fly all 7 continents solo to raise $1 million to fight cancer. Day 98. Today, we're in Pakistan, spending the day with the incredible Indus Hospital.
That's a good thing, you know what I'm saying? You're doing a good cause. Feel me? Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Fighting childhood cancer head on.
By June, he had landed on almost 60 countries. His follower count climbed past 1 million, and people were donating. And kids at St. Jude were sending him messages. And then suddenly, nothing. No day 143 or new photos. At first, it felt like a pause. Pilots deal with weather and equipment breaks, so this could make sense.
Right.
Wi-Fi isn't exactly strong over the open ocean, but as days passed, his comment section filled with questions. Aviation forums started threads, and people wondered if he'd crashed, been grounded, or were forced to land somewhere remote. And people's speculations were getting dark quickly, could this be an Amelia Earhart 2.0? But then, the news broke. He hadn't disappeared. He was just arrested. In Antarctica. You don't hear that every day, that's for sure. So suddenly, this story turns into the weirdest international aviation situation of the year. Because according to the Chilean authorities, Ethan didn't just fly a little bit off course. They claim he submitted a false flight plan and secretly veered south toward Antarctica, and then landed at a Chilean military base without permission. In other words, they claim he endangered an entire airspace and violated international regulations. Just like that, a teenager who was trying to break a world record for a good cause was now stuck on world's most restricted continent on Earth, waiting for a court date in the middle of an Antarctic winter. And remember, Antarctica doesn't exactly have Ubers, airports, or weekend return.
Ain't nothing over there. I ain't never been, but I'm already knowing ain't nothing over there. That's my man. You know what I'm saying? He got a good cause, though. You know what I'm saying? And it be like that, man. Y'all ever notice, every time he try to do good, it's something bad tries to come up. And man, he had a good cause, you know what I'm saying? And it's it sucks, stuff just didn't go the right way.
Ethan's Instagram went dark because he wasn't allowed to leave. Because Ethan's flight began in Memphis, Tennessee in May of 2024, with a kind of resume that really shouldn't belong to anyone who still illegally could not buy a drink. He started flying at 13 and earned his private pilot license at 17. He's also an IFR rated, which means he can fly completely just by the instruments, even with zero visibility. And before this global mission, he had already flown to 48 states and crossed the Atlantic 3 times. His cousin's battle with cancer pushed him to take aviation from a hobby to a mission, and he partnered with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital to turn every mile into a fundraiser.
Oh, wow,
I'm attempting to become the first person ever to fly all 7 continents solo, but getting here hasn't been easy. At 13, I began preparing for this by homeschooling and finishing high school early to focus fully on my mission.
Yeah,
At 15, with funding challenges, I worked different jobs to help pay for training and constantly search for sponsors. Unfortunately, while preparing, my cousin was diagnosed with stage 4 blood cancer. Wanting to help, I shifted this mission to something more important. So at 16, I completed my first solo flight. By 17, I earned all my pilot's license and set a record for the fastest time to fly to all contiguous states. Still, no insurance company wanted to cover my flight around the world. So I flew across the Atlantic twice and finally got insurance.
His charity site listed the numbers like a scoreboard. 7 continents, 60 countries, 50,000 miles,
That's amazing.
100 days. But the journey stretched way longer than planned. By the time he posted his final update from the Philippines on June 23rd, he'd been traveling for 142 days straight. 5 days later, Chile accused him of lying to aviation authorities because they claimed that he followed a flight plan saying that he was only going to fly over the city of Punta Arenas, which
I ain't gonna
is
lie to
nothing
you, bro.
special since,
It seems like they was hating on him, man, because he was young. You know what I'm saying? He was already driving a plane around 17. I feel like people was hating. They didn't want to see that man grow. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, all he had was a right cause. I know they don't play around in certain areas when it comes to flying over certain places, but he had a good cause. You know what I'm saying? I can see if it was a bad thing, you know what I'm saying? But he you know what I'm saying? He was on a mission. You feel me? I feel like he gonna continue to progress and grow. You know what I'm saying? This is just obstacle that's in his way for real.
Routine airspace. But once he was in the air, they claimed that he changed his course without telling anyone and flew straight towards Antarctica before landing in Teliento Rodolfo Marsh Base, which sits on King George Island, a chunk of Antarctica claimed by Chile. And the regional prosecutor wasn't gentle about it at all. He said that Ethan always had the will and knowledge that he wanted to reach Antarctica at all costs, and essentially accused him of risking his life and the safety of global air traffic, and formally charged him with violating national and international aviation law. Because overall, Chile considered this a criminal act and not an emergency. So Ethan was then detained and told he could not leave Chilean territory until the investigation was complete. So here's the part nobody expected. He was technically free to move around Antarctica, but the problem is Antarctica is Antarctica. There's like no flights going in or out because, you know, it's in the dead of the winter. And the weather is obviously so brutal that the aircraft wasn't allowed to land. So he was essentially just stuck there for weeks while his plane sat grounded and his social media account stayed completely silent. He even turned 20 years old while stranded on the ice there.
While being stranded in Antarctica, his health has taken a turn. He's lost 20% of his body weight and is suffering from a swollen heart. He said the Chilean base in Antarctica has had to start rationing food because of failed supply runs. So for breakfast, he's being given 100 grams of bread with a teaspoon of butter. And for dinner, he said that they're having to share out about one...
But his lawyer told a very different story compared to the Chilean government's. According to his defense team, he encountered instrument failures and heavy icing, which can tear a propeller aircraft out of the sky. He then says that he contacted Chilean aviation officials urgently and was granted permission through direct messages to divert and land at the base. So in their words, he didn't sneak into Antarctica, he was trying not to crash into the ocean. And they even presented evidence that he used WhatsApp to communicate with the aviation authorities. But unfortunately, Chile didn't buy it. So for 6 weeks, the case kept dragging on while Ethan waited in isolation, unable to fly his plane or even leave the island. Officials accused him of lying. Meanwhile, his lawyers accused the government of ignoring evidence, and because the weather blocked all commercial flights, he literally could not leave if he wanted to. So finally then in August, the Chilean judge dropped the charges, but only under an agreement. Ethan had to donate $30,000 to a children's cancer foundation in Chile, leave the country as soon as the weather allowed, and accept a 3-year ban from entering Chilean territory. So I guess, I mean, the good news here for him is that he didn't get a criminal conviction. He was just essentially forced to donate and say goodbye. At least the donation was within what he was raising money for, but still, I don't know, this one's interesting. I guess it all depends on what really happened here. Because if what Chile was alleging happened, he got off pretty easily, but if what he claims happened, then, I mean, he got punished unnecessarily. But even after the case was dismissed, he still couldn't leave. The weather held him hostage for another month until Chile finally moved him off the island on a Navy ship. And that still was not the end of it, because Chile wouldn't allow him to fly his own plane out of Antarctica. His officials said the aircraft did not meet the proper regulations to depart, and essentially hinted that it could leave Antarctica.
I ain't gonna lie, man. This sounds like some movie stuff. Like he driving a plane at 17. He passed Antarctica and then he got caught. He almost passed Antarctica and then he got caught. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like a movie, man. I don't know, man. Hey. I don't know. They might look at this story. They be like, oh, hey, we can make a movie out of this. It do sound like a movie, though.
Which, I mean, could be why he had to emergency land the plane in the first place. Who knows? So after flying around the world for cancer research, raising more than $100,000 and becoming one of the youngest solo pilots to ever reach this point, Ethan Go left Antarctica without the plane he risked his life flying. And even after everything, he says that he wants to keep going, resume the mission, and finish all 7 continents. Technically, he's now checked off the hardest continent to land in, though. His legal team is considering action against the Chilean government, and he says that he thinks the entire process was extremely unfair. Apparently, the government took his phone and documents, and they didn't let him have proper translation during early hearings. Then they also alleged that he had evidence that Chile ignored. So whether he lied about his flight plan or actually faced mid-air emergency, that's just something only the full records will confirm. And aviation communities seem to be split over this. Like, half believe he took a deliberate risk to make it to Antarctica, and the other half believe him. If he does finish the mission, it will be with a new plane and hopefully a new route. But again, he's already landed in the hardest continent to land in, so from now, it'll be a lot easier at least. But what do you guys think happened? Let me know in the comments down below. Other than that, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.
Yeah, y'all. Shout out to Autopsy for the video, man. But how y'all feel about the video, y'all? Like, do y'all feel like this could be a movie though? To be honest, for real, I can see like somebody coming up with a little, you know what I'm saying? With a little movie, you feel me? But yeah, y'all, man, that was the video, man. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, y'all. You know, try to reach 3,000 subscribers, y'all. We gonna be dropping every day. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, y'all. Catch y'all in the next video.